Hello, my name's Peter. There's another video brought to you by Squarespace, and today I'm looking at experimenting with the concept of impermanence in art. We're going to be using the dry erase board, the good old-fashioned whiteboard, the upgrade from the chalkboard. I don't know what they used before, chalkboards in schools. I feel like chalkboards have been around for a long time, but now we have dry erase boards. Probably schools use something even, I know they have those digital boards. Back in my day, we had this really, really cool thing called overhead projectors, and I liked sitting near them because there was just this certain different kind of scent. The warm air came wafting out of the vents of these overhead projectors. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent. Basically, we all like to hang on to our art for as long as possible, typically, right? Like, I mean, half the reason sometimes that people do like drawings and sketchbooks on pieces of paper instead of, big paintings or sculptures. The downside of big paintings and sculptures is they take up so much room to store. But if we draw here on this whiteboard, one whiteboard can hold an infinite amount of drawings. Well, probably not infinite because eventually the surface will get worn out, and you've all seen old whiteboards. They start to look really kind of dirty, basically. But you get the idea. And I know there is one caveat in that I'm not really being that impermanent with this drawing, even though I'm going to erase it at the end. I am immortalizing it a little bit by recording it. So I am preserving it digitally. It's being preserved here in video form, and I took a picture of it with my phone. And digital stuff is a little bit weirder because who knows how long a digital thing lasts. Even if I take a picture and then delete it off my phone, who knows where else it is. It might be on some cloud, remote server somewhere, or if I upload it to YouTube and then delete it, it might be on some server out there somewhere. Someone else might have downloaded it, or what about the concept of if I post this video and then delete it, maybe it still exists in other people's brains who've watched the video. That's another way to think about it. I'm not really sure. But sometimes I do get a little bit stressed out about how much I hoard my art, right? Sketchbooks pile up, random pieces of paper, the paintings, the sculptures, and sometimes it just feels good to let go a little bit and know that you can still have a good time putting a lot of time and effort into a drawing, knowing that it's going to disappear again, with the, except for the digital parts, right after it's done. And let me tell you, when I erased this thing at the end, it felt so good. Also, I have to talk about another aspect of this, which is with these dry erase markers, is it more drawing or painting? That's another thing I was very interested in and I couldn't really figure out. But first, let's talk about Squarespace for a moment. Squarespace is a great way to set up your own website. Even if you don't have some big professional thing going, you can have a website just for yourself. And it's like maybe all your other social media stuff, except you have complete control over how everything is set up and arranged, and you can have it sync up with all your social media if you want to, your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and have it all update as soon as you post somewhere else, or have your website update your social media. And like I said, you can have it arranged however you want. Drag around the modules, have image galleries, upload your own little podcast. There's no reason not to. I know we all have crazy random thoughts bounce around in our brains. Start yourself a podcast and you can have it hosted on your own website. Anyways, so go to squarespace.com, start your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/PeterDraws for 10% off your first website or domain. Now, about whether this is more like drawing or painting, I expected it to be more like drawing, but there were definite aspects where it was more like painting. Because I don't exactly know how these markers work, but I think it's like there's like some sort of medium, like there's like alcohol in them or something. I think if we've all markers used to be much more noxious and toxic and potent, right? If you smelled an old marker, people used to sniff these things recreationally, and it used to just kind of, it would either get you somewhere or give you a headache. But now, I mean, you can still smell something in there. I think there's alcohol in there, which is kind of a vehicle for the ink. But I think the ink, maybe in this case with the dry erase markers, is maybe some kind of resin or something. And basically the idea is you draw on the whiteboard, and the alcohol is like the fluid that carries the resin, and then the alcohol is nice because we all know that alcohol like evaporates quickly, right? We've all put like what's the stuff like hand sanitizer on our hands, which has a lot of alcohol in it, and it feels really cold as it's evaporating so fast. I think the same thing happens there. So the liquid evaporates, leaving just the dry erase, the dry resin on the board. And that's why I don't think it's really ink in the same way we normally think of ink, because if you erase a bunch of this stuff at once, you can get like chunks of it. Like it's like it piles up in like dry boogers of whatever is in these pens. It like you can get like clumps of it, which is kind of interesting. I never noticed that before. So going into it at first, it really is like drawing. But as you start getting deep into the drawing, it starts to be a little bit more like painting, in the sense that, especially if you use a lighter marker near darker colors, the colors can start to blend. Like as you might notice, I use like a bright pink, and it started touching even the dry parts of a dark blue, and then the pink marker started drawing these cool purplish lines, and it would just draw purple for a bit until I didn't touch any blue lines for a while, and then it would gradually go back to pink. So I was getting some cool variation there. So that kind of blending effect felt very painterly, and I guess you can get that with drawing sometimes, especially with markers. A lot of alcohol-based markers like Copics and stuff, they even have blending markers, but it felt a little bit more immediate, because I didn't have to use a blending marker. I don't think there are blending markers for dry erase markers, because then you would just end up erasing. But on the other hand, it was not at all like painting, because you couldn't layer at all. It could kind of give the appearance of layering, because you could keep on drawing on top of it over and over again, but it would really just erase everything underneath it if you drew over anything. This also provides a problem if you ever tried this before, because the dry ink under where you're trying to draw would pile up on top of the tip of the marker and make it not draw as good. So it's kind of in some weird no man's land between drawing and painting, I feel like, and I definitely want to experiment with it some more. Sometimes, at first I wanted to be very careful. My intention was, going into this drawing, was to be very careful and not let any of the lines or colors touch each other, but I ended up just getting like very squiggly with it, and it was hard to be very careful because I had it mounted vertically in front of me, so I didn't have any like supports for my hand to keep it steady. I think when painters do this, sometimes they use something called a maul, right? Like a stick they use to support their hand as they're doing like detailed work. I didn't have anything like that, because you can't rest your hand against the board very much. Otherwise you end up very easily and quickly erasing what's under your hand. But there's all sorts of cool options you can do with dry erase markers that you can't do with anything else, like drawing something, erasing something, drawing something on top of it. I don't know. Like, it would also be a cool way to maybe easily do animations. If you were to draw something, erase it, or you could just like erase just parts of what you want to do, and do animations that way, because a lot of times with animations only parts of a drawing change. Like if you're animating someone talking, you can just draw the whole character and then erase the mouth and redraw the mouth how you want it. So that, I don't know. I've never really gotten into animation because I get discouraged by how much you have to redraw the same thing over and over again. I mean, that might be an insight into how much I don't know about animation, because maybe that's not what you're supposed to do. But anyways, I had a good time with this. I want to try it again. And yeah, like I said, the erasing part of it at the end was just, it was almost the best part. It felt really, really good. I don't know why. I mean, even that part right there is almost enough to make me want to do it again. Like almost the more time I spend on it, the more detailed it was. I feel like that would make the erasing part even better. I don't know why. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know if you've tried this before and how it felt to erase it at the end, if you've ever done it. It feels like, it felt less like violent and spiteful than just doing a drawing and then like ripping it to shreds or throwing it away at the end for some reason, even though it's essentially the same thing. Anyways, all right, bye.